What's up gamers, Cryptico here, and welcome back to Lowering the Mark, a show where I analyze the current and former world records of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe time trial runs to see how these records get faster over time. We'll look at elements such as the loadout, racing lines, and mushroom usage to better understand what's bringing these times down. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the notification bell to be the first to know when my videos go live. For today's episode, we're going to take a look at another favorite course from the audience, Shy Guy Falls at 200cc. On May 3rd, 2017, the world record for this run was set at 1 minute 30.829 seconds by the Japanese player Naoto, and 3 years later, on May 21st, 2020, the world record was set at 1 minute 26.193 seconds by the French player Army. That's a 4.6 second improvement between records and a 5.2% faster time. Our former world record holder Naoto has broken 16 world records across 6 unique runs and has only spent 14 days holding at least one world record. In contrast, our current world record holder Army has broken 122 world records across 27 unique runs and has spent over 640 days holding at least one world record. He recently picked up another 3 world records and currently holds 10 of them as of today. At pre-release, the world record was really slow, like over 10 seconds slower than it is now. American player Hobby would headline the first wave of new records all the way down under 130, then a few new players raced to get under 129, and American player Jimmy would be the first to do so. Near the end of May and into June, him and Irish player Kevin would butt heads for a bit before Jimmy put up a 128.25 that held for over 340 days. That was the last world record to come from the W25, as Davi would break it driving the Wild Wiggler. Jimmy would hit back in the Mach 8 and go back and forth with Davi before breaking away with his next world record to last over 300 days, dipping well below 128 in the process. In April of 2019, the Wild Wiggler was here to stay and Army started to run the course and broke his own world record 11 times. He'd be the first one to go 126, and his 11th world record lasted a whopping 375 days. Alberto would chime in there for a little bit, but this course belonged to Army as he broke the record another 11 times on his way down to 126.1. In total, the world record was broken 75 times by 16 different players. Now, these loadouts are surprisingly well matched for being from world records set so far apart. Naoto goes with the combo of Waluigi driving the Streetle Kart with the roller wheels and the Super Glider. Army also goes with Waluigi, but drives the Wild Wiggler with the leaf tires and the Paper Glider instead. Now, the stats are so eerily similar, and I was feeling a bit lazy, so we're just going to take a look at the loadouts as a whole. The Streetle and Roller Wheels pairing makes for high acceleration and mini-turbo stats, while the Wiggler increases the top speed in all areas while keeping the handling on par as well. Pretty decent stats for both loadouts thus far, but the driving is what really makes the difference on this track. Here's a course that I genuinely enjoy playing. It's not too complicated, there's a cool waterfall and pretty sick shortcut waiting for you at the end. It can get annoying when people bump into you and knock you off the course, but luckily we're in time trial where you only fall off the course if you're bad. Let's take a look. Naoto hits a rocket start and immediately grabs a mini turbo around the first turn and charges up a super mini turbo after brake drifting slightly around the second. He'll start charging up another super mini turbo off the first ramp and release it before going off of the second one onto the waterfall. Army does the same thing, except he kind of overfits this first turn in order to take it a bit tighter. On the second turn, he doesn't brake drift as much but still picks up a super mini turbo before the jump boost on the first ramp into a quick mini turbo before the waterfall. No major differences here other than that jump boost, which is probably the reason Army leads by half of a second at the end of S1. The waterfall is pretty straightforward for Naoto. He just lands off the ramp and hits 3 zippers on the way up before hitting a tight super mini turbo and coming back down towards the glider ramp. Army charges up a mini turbo off the ramp and lands right on the first zipper to gain that extra boost. For the rest of the upstream, he sort of hops around for some reason before hitting a tight super mini turbo of his own before the downstream. Whatever slight adjustment Army made definitely helped him out because that's more than doubled his lead over Naoto to just over 1 second going into S3. Naoto grabs a boost off the glider ramp before charging up a mini turbo before this shortcut here. He releases it to hop over the long grass patch without a mushroom and hits the ramp, charging up another mini turbo in the process, before heading over the last ramp and using his first mushroom to cut through this side strip of grass before the finish line. Army does the same thing off the glider ramp and before the shortcut, but once he touches the ramp, he picks up a jump boost before going off the second one and using his mushroom to cut through that side strip even tighter than Naoto. Other than the obvious time save that comes from the jump boost, the tighter grass cut is what really pushes Army ahead going into lap 2. His lead over Naoto sits at just over 1.7 seconds. Now S1 is pretty much the same for both racers on lap 2. They take tight-ish turns, hit the first ramp pretty well, and set themselves up to carry some speed into the waterfall. Only noticeable difference again is the jump boost by Army, and it's why he's able to stack another few tenths to his lead, which now sits at just over 2 seconds going into S2. Naoto just does that thing where he stays on a pretty straight line and hits all 3 zippers before the U-turn at the top, in which he gets a super mini turbo before coming downstream to the glider ramp. Let's take a closer look at Army's upstream here. He starts by charging up a mini turbo off the ramp, and then follows that up with a hop after the first zipper ramp. Now this run is pace locked on this lap, so it's likely he hops there to slow himself down so that he doesn't miss the third zipper, one that barely appears as he's driving upstream. We'll get back to that later, but after another super mini turbo on the U-turn, Army is sitting a comfortable 2.5 seconds ahead of Naoto at the end of S2. So if we put these two shortcuts side by side, you'll be able to see how different they are despite looking so similar. First we have the ramp entry. Naoto hits the ramp just right of that second arrow, while Army hits it in between the first and second one. Army does it this way because it's the only way he can hit a jump boost and still have time to charge a drift off the second ramp. Both racers are similarly positioned on the second ramp to charge up their drifts, but what really sets these two cuts apart is the grass cut. And there you have it, clear as day. Army takes this cut much tighter, which results in more time saved. That more efficient S3 piles on hundreds more milliseconds to Army's lead, which now sits at just under 3 seconds going into the final lap. There's not much to say about lap 3 for either racers, as it's pretty much the same as the other two laps. They chain their mini turbos with tight turns, hit the ramps pretty well, and do a good job at keeping their speed up by hitting zippers and jump boosts where appropriate. They'll take one final no item shortcut followed by one more shroom cut through the grass as they come across the finish line. Naoto kind of had a subpar lap 3, which only made Army's final time that much more impressive. He posted a time that was nearly 4.7 seconds faster than Naoto's former world record. So by hitting a few extra jump boosts, taking tighter and faster turns, and driving S3 better on all 3 laps, Army was able to put up record after record and prove that he is the best player in the world on this track. Let's hear some words from the man himself. What was going through your mind when you set this world record?
I was like, okay. Don't really care, it was only a .003 improvement, I think.
Where would you say most of your fails come from on this course?
You can fail pretty much everywhere on this track, but I'd say most of my fails come from the first turn on lap 1 and the shortcut.
The best known split sometime is just 3 frames away from 125. Is this second break possible, or have we seen the last one at 126?
Yeah, 125 is probably doable, but it's extremely hard to get.
Thank you for providing such deep and thought-provoking answers, Army. Can't wait to link up with you on the next record. The best known splits for this run are interesting. They are all owned by the same player, but we have no idea what the final times looked like. There's also the pace lock on lap 2, which ends up grouping laps 1 and 2 together as one split. You can only be so fast through the first lap and a half in order to hit all 3 zippers on the waterfall on lap 2, and Army actually comes within a frame or 2 of the best known laps 1 and 2 in his world record run. Lap 3 is where the most improvement can be made, and a faster split is likely the only shot at getting this run under 126, but only Army can make that happen as of right now. The worldwide top 10 consists of only 4 national record holders and 3 continental record holders. Army sits at the top with a near 0.2 of a second lead over the Japanese record holder Hickey, who sits in second, and fellow Japanese player Amon rounds out the top 3. Spanish record holder Alberto and Tain go 4 and 5, separated by less than 0.1 of a second, and only a few hundredths behind him is another well-known Japanese player in Ronnie. With only the 7th time in the world under 127, we have Yoshi. With the fastest times in the world that aren't 126, we have Ungachi, Snoop Dogg, and Soman rounding out the top 10. Army was able to bring this record down many times, so it's obvious that he is really good at this track and likely won't surrender the world record anytime soon. But we all gotta remember that no world record is safe in this game. That's the end of episode 27. Thanks to everyone who suggested this run for your patience. I'm glad I was able to deliver on another audience favorite. If you enjoyed this video, like and share it with your friends and comment on which course you want me to analyze next. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.